Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime.
And some of our cases this month range from a search for 2 of 4 individuals still being sought in connection with solving a 2005 cold case homicide and some robberies and even more.
Let's get started.
Now, first up, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is seeking information in the armed robbery of a convenience store in Shalimar last month. Around 8:45 p.m. back on August 16th, OCSO deputies responded to an armed robbery at the business located there on 4th Avenue in Shalimar. The suspect walked in, pointed the gun at the clerk, and fled on foot with an undisclosed amount of cash. Now, he was described as a white male, about 5 foot 10 inches tall, with a slender build. He was wearing a black hooded sweatshirt, black pants, black shoes, black hat, and a black bandana was covering his face. Not the greatest of photos, but hopefully somebody will have some information about that. Of course, you can contact the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office or Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously.
And another robbery up next. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is trying to identify a man that robbed a Fort Walton Beach gas station on August 10th. Around 3:30 in the morning, the individual pictured below entered a store at 213 Racetrack Road and struck the cashier multiple times. Then he fled with an undisclosed amount of cash and cigarettes. The suspect was described as a black male and at the time was wearing a tan hoodie, a black mask, and dark sunglasses. He was later spotted operating a white bicycle with white wheels and black handlebars. So if that sounds familiar or you have any information, contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
Next up is another vehicle burglary suspect that the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is trying to identify. Now, back on September 2nd, this black male you see here entered a vehicle located on Colonial Drive over in Fort Walton Beach, stole numerous credit cards. He then used those credit cards at several locations in the local areas. Now, he's reported to have several tattoos on his arms and may possibly have tattoos or a tattoo on his face. So pretty distinguishable. Anybody with information, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. Remember, there's 3 ways, 863-TIPS, EmeraldCoastCrimeStoppers.com, or the P3 Tips mobile app.
And next up, 44-year-old Nancy Schreiner was shot and killed during a rash of gunfire off Lovejoy Road back on February 9th, and she died from a gunshot wound to the chest found in the roadway near the intersection of Marlar Street and Shirley Drive, and that took place around 9:45 that evening. Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office deputies found evidence that dozens of bullets had been fired from multiple weapons, and at least 3 vehicles and several homes were hit by those bullets, but there were no other reports of injuries. Still looking for any information that's out there on that fatal shooting, and you've got the information right in front of you on how to contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you have anything that can help with clearing up that case.
And a break in a 2005 cold case leads to 2 arrests and 2 being sought. So 16 years after a Fort Walton Beach man died following a home invasion robbery at his Monahan Drive apartment, 2 people are now in custody for the murder and 2 others are currently being sought. Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office investigators have charged 44-year-old Adrian Watson of Fort Walton Beach and 40-year-old Marcus Snowden of Daphne, Alabama with felony murder in connection with the shooting death of Luis Gonzalez on September 12, 2005. Now, active warrants for felony murder have been issued for 44-year-old Victor Stanton, and you can see his photo here. He's the suspected triggerman, and also 42-year-old Benny Richardson. Investigators say new witness testimony and information in the drug-related case was developed, leading to the cold case break. So anybody who may know the whereabouts of Stanton or Richardson, of course, you can contact the Sheriff's Office or Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. Now, remember, we do give cash rewards of up to $3,000 that help lead to an arrest.
Exactly. Now, next up, a 5-day operation targeting the online solicitation of children by sexual predators netted more than a dozen arrests recently, and still more were coming in. We've got charges pending against numerous other individuals and more suspects still to be identified.
We wanted to take this opportunity to talk about a 5-day operation that was concluded, a multi-agency task force operation. Internet crimes against children. We'll use some acronyms today, but I'm going to try to start out with Internet crimes against children is ICAC, something that I've been passionate about from the time that I worked at CID, and one of the priorities from when I took office that I wanted to grow ICAC, and some of the slide you'll see on the big screen here will show the increases and why we needed to put some effort towards this. Basically, law enforcement, there's 2 different ways, is reactive and proactive, and in trying to be proactive in this career field is difficult because it costs money and it takes personnel and resources. So that was one of the things we wanted to do, was increase our ICAC presence, and we have, and this the results of this operation is a direct result of those increases and the partnerships, most importantly, the partnerships with the multi-agencies. This operation is going to show exactly how much of a priority that internet crimes against children is for law enforcement in Northwest Florida. Just the agencies represented here today, of course, we have Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, we have the Office of the State Attorney, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Walton County, Escambia County, and Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Offices, Crestview Police Department, U.S. Office of Homeland Security, Air Force OSI or Special Investigations, and Naval Criminal Investigation Services, NCIS, out of Jacksonville, are some of the agencies that worked during this operation. We've done these operations in the past. This was a 5-day operation that concluded on Monday morning. And as of Monday morning, we had 32 different suspects that have committed multiple felonies. We have apprehended 12 of those suspects. With a crime like this, some of these suspects are going to be identified at a later time through forensics, and some of these suspects were out of state. But the 5-day operation was the result of great work by these agencies, as I mentioned, and what these criminals are doing are preying on our children for sexual activity. The 12 pictured up on the screen are the 12 that have been identified and apprehended, and again, we have 20 more that will be apprehended and identified in the next coming weeks. It's a constant battle. You know, I mean, these electronic devices, these smartphones are basically computers that have come a long way from the time that I had a bag phone as an early deputy. And they can do things, and these criminals know what they can do, and there's all these hidden apps that are very, very dangerous. I remember a few years ago going and speaking to the youth village and taking our ICAC team over there to try and explain this to parents that wanted to talk about some of the dangers here. Let me give you some scary examples. This slide you see here on ICAC and how much it's increased. In just the last 5 years, our cases on an annual basis have gone from 38 to 180 as of last year in 2020. That's a 373% increase in 5 years in this type of crime in our community. And across the nation, this 1998, there were 3,000 reported cases. And to go up, we have 5,900 crimes against children increased in the last 20 years across our country. What a staggering statistic. But again, a lot of these social media platforms are where these people are preying on these children. Texting, email, and phone calls, sexual predators are using message applications such as Whisper and Kik and Meet Me. But know the apps that your kids are using. There's like I said hidden apps. There's some that look like calculators or a photo gallery when in fact they're an actual app that they can meet these people on. Sexual predators are relentless oftentimes. I'm going to give you one example. We had a suspect in this particular sting operation. He's a registered sex offender already who lives in Santa Rosa County. He was using the Meet Me app to try and encounter a 14-year-old girl. He wanted the girl to travel to Santa Rosa County, Okaloosa County line because he's on probation as a GPS monitor on his leg. So they go to all kinds of extremes, and here this person is, this particular person is on probation, and the conditions are no internet service, no unsupervised contact with any children, no computer services, no social media service, but yet they're sitting there still relentlessly trying to reach out to these children. They know the dangers. These suspects know the risks they're taking, and their risk is clearly outweighing their fear of being charged. But I can assure you their relentlessness is not going to outweigh our tenacity. And so we're going to continue to stay on it.
Now, other agencies who took part include the Office of the State Attorney, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Walton, Escambia, and Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Offices, the Crestview Police Department, U.S. Office of Homeland Security, Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and Naval Criminal Investigation Service out of Jacksonville. So great team effort there.
I was going to say, a lot of partners working on that one. Next up, we're going to move into our first round of fugitives that we're still trying to locate. And Luke Matthew Moulton is up first. He's wanted for failure to appear for fleeing and eluding an officer with lights and siren active, possession of controlled substances, driving with a license that was suspended or revoked, and resisting arrest without violence. Moulton's last known address was on Florence Avenue in Fort Walton Beach.
Next up is 30-year-old Therence Walton Crooks. He's wanted for possession of a weapon or ammo by a convicted felon, last known to live on Bay Street over in Fort Walton Beach.
50-year-old Tonya Denise Curry is wanted for the sale of cocaine, last known address Colonial Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
David McLeod, he's wanted for violation of probation for travel to meet after use of computer to lure a child, last known to live on 8th Avenue in Shalimar.
Contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you have any information on the location of Shaylene Nicole Mathews. Mathews is wanted for sexual assault and cruelty toward a child as well as other sex offenses. She was last known to live in Moulton.
We're still looking for 68-year-old Donald Joe Mitchell for DUI as well as driving while license suspended or revoked. He was last known to live out in Navarre.
Yep, and the search continues also for Dennis Drakehow Henderson. He's wanted for failure to appear for resisting arrest without violence, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of marijuana, last known to live on Catherine Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And this next one's been on the show for a while. We'd sure like to locate him. That's Tad Keith Bowers. He's wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of child neglect.
The Walton County Sheriff's Office is trying to locate Robert Wayne Maxwell. Maxwell's wanted for threats, extortion, and cyber stalking, last known to live in Pensacola.
Back to Okaloosa County, we're looking for 39-year-old Tiffany Nicole Key. She's still being sought for larceny.
And unfortunately, we do not have a photo of MacArthur Phillips Jr. He's 32 years old and he is wanted for arson.
42-year-old Scott Daniel Sconyers, last known to live in Destin. He's being sought for violation of probation for DUI as well as fleeing and eluding.
Next individual is Anthony Michael Frodely. Frodely's wanted for VOP for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker. Last known address, Fort Walton Beach.
Another one we don't have a photo of, but if you know where Brandon Dalton West might be found, you can contact us. He's wanted for sexual assault.
Alyssa Victoria Hibberts was last known to live in Pensacola. She's wanted for VOP for child neglect and possession of cocaine.
40-year-old Connie Jeanette Brown Menzies. She's wanted for negligent manslaughter as well as DUI, last known to live on Gibson Road in Fort Walton Beach.
And this is Cheyanne Gentry. Gentry's wanted for VOP for possession of methamphetamine, last known to live on Oak Terrace Drive in Crestview.
Next up is 62-year-old James Clinton Brinkley Jr. He's wanted for violation of probation for battery, last known to live in Pensacola.
Don't have a photo available on this next one, but you might recognize the name Kelvin Paul Michael Wise, wanted for sexual battery.
And this next one is wanted for multiple felony failure to appear warrants, including burglary. That's 21-year-old Michael Sean Riley. He was last known to live on 26th Street in Niceville.
Joseph Lee Fairchild. Fairchild violated his probation for aggravated assault charges.
We're still looking for Rameshia Rebecca Hatcher. She's 29 years old. She's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft.
And David Allen Bobbitt. Bobbitt is wanted for fraud. He's 45 years old.
42-year-old Regina Lynn Daniels. She's wanted for violation of probation for possession of methamphetamine, last known to live on Hudson Drive in Crestview.
And last up on this list, Thomas Edward Allison. He's wanted for failure to appear for aggravated assault on a person 65 or older, last known to live in Destin.
Now, Deputy Keith McCullough was recognized as a hometown hero for his recent honor by the National School Resource Officers Association. He was in the spotlight for earning NASRO's Exceptional Service Award. Now, he serves at Silver Sand School over in Fort Walton Beach.
So tonight we are honoring a special guest from the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department, Deputy Keith McCullough. You can come on up. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him so you know why he is our honoree. So Officer Warren Keith McCullough is an officer from Okaloosa Sheriff's Department and currently serves as a school resource officer for Silver Sands School, which is a non-traditional school for students whose needs go beyond the scope of that offered in a regular special needs setting. On July 12, 2021, the National Association of School Resource Officers presented its Regional Exceptional Service Award to Officer McCullough. This annual award recognizes school resource officers who have made specific and significant contributions to their local communities and/or school districts.
It's all about the kids, it's all about the parents, it's all about the community.
We're going to move on into our next round of fugitives at this time, and we've got Mark Robert Fitzgerald topping off the list too. He's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for grand theft of a person 65 or older, money laundering, and organized fraud. Last known to live in Santa Rosa Beach.
Next up is 33-year-old John Patrick Sinke. He's wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender, last known to live on Vita Lane in Fort Walton Beach.
Contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you know where to find Clayton Copeland. Copeland's wanted for VOP for providing false information to a pawnbroker, as well as grand theft of a motor vehicle. Last known address, Destin.
53-year-old Jerry Daniel Beaver, last known to live on Boyce Drive in Shalimar. He's being sought for possession of methamphetamine, violation of probation.
Corretta James is on the list. She's wanted for failure to appear for grand theft and fraud. James' last known address was on Wilson Street in Crestview.
Tyrone Frost, he's being sought for violation of probation for burglary, last known to live on Greenwood Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Another VOP case, this one Leon Leslie Chandler. He's wanted for VOP for driving with a license suspended or revoked, as well as possession of a weapon or ammo by a convicted felon.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is searching for Gregory Long. He's 57. He's got 2 active warrants stemming from 2 cases of burglary during a state of emergency and grand theft, last known to live on Strange Road up in Defuniak Springs.
Here's 25-year-old Brian Castile. He's wanted for failure to appear on a charge of lewd behavior with a victim 12 to 14. Last known address was Tyner Street in Fort Walton Beach.
34-year-old Blake Elliott Gundred, he's being sought for violation of probation for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker.
Another failure to appear for lewd behavior on a victim 12 to 16, but this time it's Jose Cabrera Gerardo. Last known address was on Baker Avenue in Fort Walton Beach.
And this next one's been a long-time resident of the show as well. That's 37-year-old Enjoli Johnson. She's wanted for aggravated battery, last known to live on Mixon Road in Defuniak Springs.
And here's a photograph of William George Riding Jr. Riding's wanted for counterfeiting.
Next up is 41-year-old Michelle Renee Riding. She's wanted for felony violation of probation.
And James Terrence Hingham is wanted for theft from a person 65 or older. Hingham's last known address was on South Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And no photo of Christine Chadwick, but she's 57 years old. She's a white female. She's wanted for cruelty to animal and resisting arrest without violence.
Next up, these folks we're going to introduce you to are working behind the scenes 24/7, 365, just like everyone on patrol in law enforcement. They're booking deputies, and they have to handle and process arrested people safely and securely to prevent escape, was one of the things, and also to make sure that there's no contraband entering the facilities. And that booking is where the detainees are again searched, because deputies search them first, and then they're searched again in booking. Their belongings are retrieved, inventoried, and stored. They're checked for injuries by booking, and their paperwork is all completed.
And finally placed in a holding cell until transferred to the jail. Now, it's also where DNA swabs are taken and breathalyzer machines are available for suspected DUIs.
Take a look. So you might not actually see them at work, and actually we're hoping that you do not, but they're making vital contributions to the sheriff's office every day and protecting and serving behind the scenes where they're not quite as visible to everyone.
Absolutely. And now we're going to go to our next list of wanted fugitives. We also want to remind you these fugitives are wanted as of today's taping date, which is September 8th, 2021. First up on this list is 22-year-old Aisha Marie Nathan. She's wanted for failure to appear for vehicle theft, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach.
Reginald Dewayne Muse has been on here for a while. He's wanted for VOP for grand theft, burglary, and aggravated stalking.
Next up is 28-year-old Mary Elizabeth Gibson. She was last known to live on Silva Drive over in Fort Walton Beach. She's wanted for violation of probation for leaving the scene of a crash with injuries.
Eric Markel Clyburn is up next. He's wanted in Walton County for felony failure to appear, and Clyburn was last known to live in Santa Rosa Beach.
And Okaloosa deputies are still searching for 37-year-old Timothy James Howard for larceny, resisting an officer in recovery of stolen property, and failure to appear for fraud, last known to live on Bearhead Road in Defuniak Springs.
And here's Sean Curtis Keith. Keith's wanted for aggravated battery, last known to live on Old Hickory Road in Crestview.
42-year-old Dewayne Elliott Shelton, he's wanted for failure to appear for driving while license suspended or revoked, resisting arrest, as well as possession of a controlled substance, last known to live on Catmore Road Drive in Niceville.
Now here's another long-timer, George Monroe Emmerich II. He's wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for VOP for domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
Another one we're not going to give up on, that's 37-year-old Alexis Wilmer Mondragon. He's been on the show for quite a while, but he's wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for sexual battery, sex offense against a child, as well as lewd and lascivious molestation, last known to live on Spencer Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Ronald Shane Hudson's wanted for VOP for possession of a personal IDs of 5 different individuals, as well as fraud and uttering a forged instrument.
And Walton County deputies are searching for 27-year-old Tommy Daniel Lucas for grand theft of a motor vehicle and narcotics charges. Lucas also has a misdemeanor warrant out of Okaloosa County, last known to live on Cedar Avenue in Niceville.
And Daniel Lewis Davis is last known to live in Crestview. He's 28 and he's wanted for VOP for burglary.
A new face this month is 19-year-old Dustin Cameron Ward. He's being sought for felony failure to appear, last known to live on Bear Bay Flats Road in Laurel Hill.
And 40-year-old Roderick James Rudderson's up next. He's wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school and failure to appear on a charge of driving with a license that had been suspended or revoked. His last known address was Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach.
And wrapping up this list is 33-year-old Samuel Edward Thomas III. He's being sought for violation of probation on the original charges of providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, as well as grand theft, last known to live in Shalimar. When you call 911 in an emergency, do you ever think about the person on the other end of the line, poised to help with law enforcement, fire departments, and or ambulances?
Well, those people are pretty critical, and they also have to have some critical skills. And when you call the communications center, here's some of those skills that you'll encounter: decision-making, communication, compassion, multitasking, teamwork, emotional control, technological skills, organization, directional skills, adaptability, which is a big one, and we want to say kudos to dispatchers for the outstanding job they do each and every day. And Kristen Marie Chandler topping our next list of people that are on the run. She's wanted for failure to appear for fleeing and eluding.
Next up is 48-year-old James Anthony Williams. He's being sought by Walton County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation, possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, as well as possession of drug paraphernalia.
Still trying to track down Tashani Howard Sr., wanted for driving with a license suspended or revoked, and non-payment of child support. Last known to live over on Scranton Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Stephen Charles Briley, he's 51. He's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft as well as uttering a forged instrument, last known to live also in Fort Walton Beach.
But Tony Wayne Poland was last known to live over in Freeport, and he's wanted for failure to appear for criminal mischief, burglary, and theft.
And we don't have a photo of Angel Lewis Trowery, but he is wanted by the Crestview Police Department for aggravated stalking, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach.
Cole Rutland Graninger's up next, wanted for VOP for aggravated stalking and burglary.
19-year-old Jermaine Oliver Jones. He's wanted for violation of probation for burglary and grand theft.
Moving to Walton County, the SO there is looking for Jessica Rullo. She's wanted for burglary and last known to live on Bream Avenue in Fort Walton Beach.
And back to Okaloosa, deputies are looking for 62-year-old Toyanne LaRocca. She's wanted for DUI, third violation in 10 years, last known to live on Carmel Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Don't have a picture available for Tiaja Carroll. She's 19 years old, wanted for child abuse without bodily harm.
And we're going to end with a new face to this month's show. That's 24-year-old Trenton Storm Dawson. He's wanted for fleeing and eluding law enforcement, driving while license suspended or revoked, possession of a weapon or ammo by a convicted felon, and finally resisting arrest without violence, last known to live on Lewis Turner Boulevard in Fort Walton Beach. Now, one of the things we do want to mention, and we know you probably get tired of hearing us saying it, but we kind of get tired of having to say it, is we had 70 vehicles. That's 70 vehicle burglaries in just the month of August. And of course, almost all of those were unlocked. I believe 41 of them were just in Destin, which is kind of understandable considering we're at the height, or we're kind of at the height of the tourist season. Sure. But we can't stress it enough. Make sure those firearms are not in your vehicle. And if they are, please, please, please make sure that you lock your vehicles. This is something we see every single day.
Yeah, this
here
is
at the Sheriff's
ongoing.
Office.
But we know that there are people out there that hear this that are locking their cars as a result. So that's why we keep saying it. We're not going to know about them because obviously they're not going to be the victim of a crime.
Yep.
Next up, we want to switch gears a little bit. Sheriff Eric Aiden spoke for the entire Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office when he said, "We are overwhelmingly saddened by the passing of one of our OCSO family members. 36-year-old Deputy Michael New passed away on Sunday, September 5th. We are praying for his wife, their young children, and their extended family and friends, and we ask that the community keep them in their thoughts."
So together, our OCSO family will lift and support them not only through these dark times, but in the future as well. Now, Michael began his service with us in December of 2011. Many have asked about donations for the New family, and we'd ask you to utilize the OCSO Star Charities program. You can visit our website at sheriff-okaloosa.org, and you will find the OCSO Sheriff Star Charities page. Now, to designate a donation to the family of Deputy Michael New, please add special instructions to the seller in the block under the donation amount to make sure that that goes directly to the family, to Michael's family.
And in the meantime, we just want to thank the community for its amazing support during what's been a very painful and difficult time for all of us here.